I'm here with Todd Friedman and Warner Davis, principals at Hemlock Circle. Today we will be discussing the Hemlock Circle origin story. Let's get into it. So how did you two come together to form Hemlock Circle?
We have a friend who is fortunately no longer with us, who is an attorney, and I'm also an attorney, and he was the defendant in a lot of the cases that I was filing. So he was like opposite of me, plaintiffs and defendants. And we became friends. His name is Michael, and he knew that I was interested in producing and writing. And then he was also friends with Warner and had a relationship with Warner. So he brought us together, and the rest is history.
Yeah, when Todd and I met, it's 2016, 2017 now, so it's been a long time. And so, yeah, like you said, through a mutual friend, I had been working in the industry a little bit before that. Got a couple of studios, worked for MGM when I got started, and then transferred over to Lionsgate and Stars and stuff for a short period. And then just kind of branched out into producing. So that's what Todd and I have been doing since.
When you guys are looking at scripts that you might want to produce in film, what kind of stories or tones just feel distinctly Hemlock Circle?
I think we're just a production company looking to make, edgy and relevant films that are important.
Yeah, I mean, we just want to be an indie company that, really makes films that we want to see, which hopefully translates to what everybody else wants to see at the same time. For us, at least for me, when I'm reading the scripts, it's finding something that we might have a little twist on something we've already seen before. Most scripts nowadays have a common theme that, has already been made in the past. So I think it's more about, the envisioning of can we put a little spin that has not been seen yet. Like our film Marshmallow that came out recently. A good example of that, it's a camp film. We've seen tons and tons of camp films. But, our twist was we have a nice ending, a little twist at the ending, but also what made us different was we started with the kids. Most camp films have just the counselors that we don't have to deal with kids. So stuff like that is kind of draws us into, at least me, into a project. It's a nice little twist to it.
It's all about the script. I mean, we see a script, and is this a unique, mind-blowing story, whether it's comedy, horror, drama, and then we love the script. Is it in our budget range? We're obviously not a studio. We'd like to be someday, maybe, but is it in our budget range? And do we think that we can maybe get behind it, get a cast, and get it made? But it's all about the script. And if we find a script that kind of blows us away, or wow, this is a cool, unique story, then we're going to be all over it to try to attach ourselves and get it made.
Nice. So what inspired you both to become filmmakers?
So yeah, I mean, I was always kind of like a writer. As I was a kid, I used to write stories. When I was watching Nickelodeon, I used to write my own episodes of the Tomorrow People, and stuff like that. So I always had that writing bug in me. And then after graduating college, I moved out to LA, not to become a writer, but to go to law school. But I had a lot of friends who were in the industry trying to break out as writers. And I just started getting the creative bug, at that point in time. So I started writing scripts, and try to make a career doing that while I was in law school, taking the bar kind of side by side. Didn't really pan out at that point in time, but I kept, doing it and working on it. And eventually, circumstances, enabled us to make some of those movies. So, but it's always, I guess, been in me from a writing perspective. I really do like producing though.
Growing up, it was never a thought of mine. I grew up in South Carolina. It was just never really a thought about the film industry, to be honest. So I was not one of those, kind of classic, always wanted to be doing this and everything else. I didn't really kind of, really fall into and kind of get the bug until after college. So, I was a biology major when I graduated college. So a little different than the initial side. But once I kind of moved out here, I had a lot of friends that were editors and everything, and kind of just, diving into the world of film more and more. I like the controlled chaos of it in a way. And so really enjoy the producing side. And so I enjoy that, it's not the same old. every project's different. Every way you put something together is different, and so that's kind of the joy of it. And then we get a product at the end, something to be proud of, and and show people.
Awesome. And where did you guys feel like you had your breakthroughs in the industry?
Still waiting. No, I mean, from like professionally, I think, for Hemlock at least, I don't know about personally, but for Hemlock, I think that, and this, I'm not trying to take away from any of our other films, but I think, the success of Marshmallow has kind of put us on the map. So from a company perspective, I think, just getting Marshmallow out there, getting into Panic Fest, and, winning Best Picture there, and then just the success that we've had with it. So I think that was like the breakthrough for the company, at least. I'll let you know about personally, TBD.
No, I think he's right on. I think, that's kind of, as he said, we've made some great films in the past, and so not putting any of those, down or anything, but Marshmallow's kind of put us a little bit more on the map. And so, that's the one that's kind of is launching us into the next echelon, hopefully.
I'm personally interested in the fact that Marshmallow didn't have big names attached to it at all, whereas some of your prior films did. What made Marshmallow so successful, given that most people are looking for someone recognizable on the cover?
Well, first of all, the script is just mind-blowing, right? I mean, I read that script and I was just like, and then, just the genre itself, it's horror, right? And, some people may argue that it's not true horror, and there's a whole debate about that. But, let's just say it's a horror genre. So, horror fans are loyal. They're no BS, and, horror has its own sort of market. So I think just a combination of the story and the genre, and obviously what Danny did with the movie, he was able to get so much from these young actors, and just a combination of all of that really led to the success of the movie without having to have a huge name. Not taking away from like Corbin Burnson, who's I'm a Cleveland guy, so Major League. I was just starstruck the entire time, but I get it.
What are some films or filmmakers that inspire you?
I mean, obviously, I don't know about filmmaker. We like you're working with young directors, right? We're new, right? And we like working with new people. We feel like the industry has broken us in a little bit. We like to break in people, give them a chance, similar to how we were given a chance. Obviously, in terms of like a company that we would love to model ourselves after, I mean, the pipe dream is like A24. I mean, they make just groundbreaking, awesome, independent films, and they have this talent pool of people that, attract to them. So we would love to be able to, eventually have that type of model or success, if the cards ever, fall in our favor in that regard.
What do you feel like indie filmmakers can do that big studios can't or just don't?
Yeah, I mean, most studio films have a formula, right? And indie filmmakers, they can test the waters a little bit more, and because of that, they have the ability for their voices to be heard, and we want to, we would, even if we became big enough, like our goal would be to be able to give the creative voice to indie filmmakers, and stay in that specific model, for certain, because they have the ability to really tell the stories that people really are wanting to hear. Everyone talks about mainstream media, mainstream this, mainstream that. We want to kind of stay out of the mainstream and tell those stories. So we think that's what people want to hear or see.
They have a different model that they have to kind of follow. They got to meet certain thresholds and marks and everything, whereas we can take more chances because our budgets can be smaller. We can, we don't have to kind of abide by the rules of, like you said earlier, get one big name on there on the poster. Everything else is like we can take chances on people.
What have you noticed about your audience that makes them a Hemlock Circle fan?
So we've only really had so far one experience with, an audience at a film festival, at least I have, and that was at PanaFest last year. And what was so cool about that was that, they really loved the movie, and Danny won Best Director, the movie won Best Film, and brought a lot of the kids with us, so they got to experience it. And it was really just us watching, our kid actors just thrive and answer questions, and just kind of like, we just sat back and just watched them just kind of run the show. And it was really cool to just, soak that in and let them kind of work with it. And obviously Danny too. I mean, everyone really wanted to meet and talk to Danny. So, I'm always happy to answer questions, and I'm always happy to, I like to kind of just soak it in, kind of like from standing, but kind of from the background a little bit, for sure.
These festivals, they're all there to support, which is what we love, And so the hope is that as we continue making films, we got other projects lined up, we got ones coming out, that they're going to see, especially since Marshmallow, we've done some great films before that as well, but they're going to start seeing, these guys, they deliver on the quality of films. And I think that's important to us, is it may not be your cup of tea, but they can still see the quality, and we put everything into it every time. And that's what we want them to know. That's what we're gonna do every time we make a film, is really put everything into it, and hopefully they like it.